All right, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all had a wonderful lunch and are nice and full. My name is Coco Villaluz, and I'm going to be moderating the Secondhand Smoke session. And we're super excited to have three wonderful presenters with us in person. And so we'll have them present, and then at the end we'll have time for Q&A. So I'm super excited to introduce our first presenter, Clinton Isham.
Hello, hello everybody. My name is Clinton Isham. I'm a tribal relations consultant for the Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights Foundation, and I'm from Lac du Flambeau, which is a Ojibwe reservation in northern Wisconsin. It's my cousin Melissa. She just showed up, and also the Wisconsin TPCP is here. Oh my God, I used to work for them. It's so awesome to see you guys. I'm so happy because this is where I started my tobacco journey with this table over here, so it's very cool to be here. I also had my first internship at University of Minnesota, and we presented in this room here, so it's very a lot of emotions and stuff is happening. It's really cool. So again, my name is Clinton, and I've been working in tobacco prevention and control for around 8 years, and my mission in this work, or my goal, is to repatriate tobacco and to end commercial tobacco use in Indian country. What slide is up? Okay. Very good. I'm going to use this. So I like to think that tobacco prevention and control has two different approaches, each approach being equally important and equally successful. The first approach is a conventional approach, and I often think of this when I'm writing grants or submitting grants to state and federal funders. Uh-oh, that's not supposed to do that. But the conventional approach, it's extremely successful, and it's really simple when you think about it. You raise cigarette tax and you lower the smoking rate. You create strong smoke-free policies and you lower the smoking rate. You create compelling media ads and you lower the smoking rate. So these evidence-based strategies and best practices that we have with conventional approaches, they really do work. They've helped lower the national smoking rate to a historic low that we've never seen before. These are from the ALA too, all this information, just to let you guys know. But we know that sometimes conventional strategies and a cookie-cutter approach doesn't always work for tribal communities. Smoking rates among all groups and ethnicities in the United States have lowered, except for American Indians and Alaskan Natives. And sometimes some people in this field, they'll say in response to these numbers not moving that it's because of tribal sovereignty, that we can't lower the smoking rates because when states go smoke-free or have a higher tax, they increase their tax on cigarettes, tribes don't necessarily have to abide by that policy, and sometimes they don't. So my response always to these comments is that, that we need to do more to work within tribal communities, that we must do more. So, one second. I'm not doing this one. I'm not doing that one. Okay. So what approach does work for tribal communities and tribal tobacco prevention and control? A lot of people in this room are experts on this field, and I've learned a lot from a lot of people in here. But our views on tobacco control is a lot different, and our views on tobacco control is not about eradicating tobacco altogether in Indian country. I like to think that our goal is to decolonize tobacco. And in my experience, in order to contribute to the process of decolonizing tobacco, We together as advocates in public health in this field that we all work in, we must be empowered and also empower others to teach, to discuss, and to build programs with tribal history, sovereignty, and culture at its foundation. So I can't go through all these slides, but I do want to hit home on one that I think is particularly important, and that's tribal sovereignty. And the message that I want to relay is that I really think it's important that we think of tribal sovereignty not as a barrier, but as an opportunity. So during the height of the pandemic, as everybody knows, tons of businesses closed and they reopened with new policies to protect public health. So for the first time ever, a bunch of casinos have went smoke-free. Before the pandemic, there was around 8 smoke-free casinos in the US. And today, there's like 156. Some reverted, and some have went permanently smoke-free. My work, I work with the Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights Foundation, and our job was to approach casinos and tribes in 2020 during the pandemic, just to simply acknowledge and commend them for the decisions that they were making on behalf of their people. We didn't tell tribes what to do, what policies to pass, what their policies needed to say, or what to do after their policies, because tribal leaders really hate when an outsider like me comes in and tells them what's best for their community. It just doesn't work. So I helped coordinate a campaign that was simply to highlight the power of tribal sovereignty and to highlight the impact that around 160 casinos would have on public health. And just to add more numbers to this, this is supposed to move too, but it's not working. But to add more numbers to this, tribal casinos, they employ around 500,000 people altogether throughout the United States. Imagine if all 500 tribal casinos, that's how many there are, roughly 500. Imagine if all of them were 100% smoke-free, and imagine the impact that that would have on public health in Indian country. Did it move? Okay. So it's important to note that in our campaign, we didn't shame other casinos for not going smoke-free. We didn't shame casinos for just now going smoke-free during the pandemic. Our goal in our programming that we do is to support, strengthen, and protect tribal sovereignty. And in the way that we did this is we listened to the community. The answers for this can only come from the community and from their tribal leaders. So what does the community want? What does the community need? And what does support look like? It's going to look different than it does in Navajo Nation. It's going to look different in Lac du Flambeau. It's going to look different in Eastern Band of Cherokee Indian. So there's going to be different approaches to this. We have to listen closely, and we have to teach our funders and our colleagues the importance of tribal history, culture, and sovereignty, and incorporating these 3 things into all the work that we do for our organizations. Conventional strategies, like I said, they really do work, and they've helped. I don't think there would be 160 smoke-free casinos without all of the work that has been done on both sides, and it's just, my message is that conventional strategies for tobacco control, they must be able to adapt to the specific needs of tribal communities. And so, for example, when I was working with Heirs Life Coalition, I took direction from Herschel Clark, who's right there, and from Dr. Henderson. So they told me what they needed to get done, and it was my job to figure out how to do that. And so that is an example of how, I needed to adapt to specific needs for the Navajo Nation. And this video is it's only like 2 minutes, and it just highlights, I was told by Herschel and Dr. Henderson to highlight the emotions of a tribal council meeting that took place last fall. And so what I wanted to do was to capture the love and the dedication that, that Navajo Nation tribal leaders have for their people and for their community. If I could play it. Is there someone here that can help me play this? The next one? I'm done. Oh, I thought somebody was coming. Well, I guess not. Well, trust me, the video is really, really cool, and you guys would cry, and you'd be like, oh, it's so amazing. But I'll share it with you guys, or have the conference share this video. It's really cool, and it just highlights that Navajo Nation passed a comprehensive smoke-free policy last year, and they're one of the largest reservations to do it, and they did a really good job. And Herschel Clark will tell you guys about that later. Say hi, Herschel. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Clinton. We'll make sure that video gets to everybody, and celebrating that huge act that was passed. And I think it's really important that Clinton was talking about. It takes the community support, and Indian Country will go commercial tobacco free. So that's super exciting. Our next presenter is Anthony Saavedra, who will be talking about. Sorry, let me get my official title: Secondhand Smoke Protections for Your Home and Vehicle. So please welcome Anthony.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here and to share the stage with great colleagues and just get to meet so many great people. As mentioned, I'm going to cover secondhand smoke protections for the home and vehicle, and I kind of wanted to do this topic because everyone here is a health professional. Everyone here knows the dangers of secondhand smoke to some degree, and I may recap that at some point, but I wanted to do something a little different for the everyday person. It's something we can all do just to protect ourselves from secondhand smoke emissions. And for the sake of this presentation, when I reference to secondhand smoke or secondhand emissions, I am also including the aerosol that is released from e-cigarettes and vaping. And as mentioned, my name is Anthony Saavedra. I'm from the Pueblo of Laguna, located in New Mexico, and I'm the outreach coordinator for CARES Community Health. And one of the programs that I'm here on behalf of is Smoke-Free Signals. And Smoke-Free Signals provides commercial tobacco prevention awareness throughout the state of New Mexico, specifically serving Native American communities such as pueblos, nations, and tribes. Collectively, we advocate for smoke-free environments and policies and spaces that serve priority populations such as youth and elders. In addition, our program partners with various organizations and tribes by providing presentations, trainings, and technical assistance, along with funding in the form of mini grants. And I highly encourage everyone here to follow us on our website, smokefreesignals.com, along with Facebook. We post a lot of our newsletters there. And the agenda that I kind of have for right now is I want to share a bit of the opinions from the professionals on the dangers related to secondhand smoke emissions. I want to, again, review those dangers. I want to introduce the concept of third-hand smoke. It has come up in discussion today, and I want to go a little bit further in depth with that. And I want to teach how to establish those secondhand smoke protections that I mentioned. And I just want to recognize the benefits of living a tobacco-free lifestyle. And despite the tremendous progress the U.S. has made in eliminating secondhand smoke in workspaces and public places, much progress remains to be achieved in protecting everyone's right to breathe smoke-free air in the workplace and in the home. Approximately 58 million individuals, that is 1 in every 4 people that are non-smokers that are exposed to secondhand smoke emissions. Sorry. My notes here. Approximately 58 million, 1 in every 4 non-smokers are exposed to secondhand smoke emissions year-round, and about 2 in every 5 children are also exposed year-round. And during my research, I found a report from the U.S. Surgeon General titled "The Health Consequences of Involuntary Exposure to Tobacco Smoke," in which the following statement was made: eliminating smoking indoors spaces fully protects non-smokers from exposure to secondhand smoke, separating smokers from non-smokers, cleaning the air, and ventilating buildings cannot eliminate exposures for non-smokers to secondhand smoke. And it was unanimously agreed on that there is no safe amount of secondhand smoke exposure. And I know I said I'm going to cover the dangers of secondhand smoke emissions just as a formality. There is a common misconception that secondhand smoke and aerosol from e-cigarettes is not bad for the health, which is, of course, a dangerous falsehood. Secondhand smoke and aerosol are risk factors for lung cancer because the smoke exposes those within the space of the same cancer-causing chemical compounds and air pollutants as the smoker. And there are more than 4,000 chemicals and heavy metals that are included in those secondhand smoke emissions. And when secondhand pollutants are exhaled, those in the immediate area are exposed to the chemical compounds, and this actually leads to multiple related health issues, including heart and other diseases, along with cancers. And when pregnant women are exposed to secondhand smoke compounds, their unborn children are actually at risk of birth defects, including impacted lung growth, along with low birth weight and preterm birth. And I mentioned that I wanted to touch on third-hand smoke, and I'm glad that I wasn't the only one to touch on this topic today. Third-hand smoke is a term that is risen in discussion to the dangers of commercial tobacco, and what it is the smoke and aerosol particulates that land on surfaces accumulating into a residue. And this can be found within cars, homes, and public spaces, and restaurants, hotels, where smoking has occurred. And this residue is a combination of toxic chemicals that may lead to the development of health issues, including diabetes. And these particulates are not easily cleaned. And though the use of air fresheners may improve the smell of the room with third-hand smoke residue, it's actually dangerous because those particulates are still present. And now for the part of why I'm here today to talk about establishing these protections in our homes and vehicles. And the best way for protecting ourselves is through precautious steps of setting rules and boundaries that can be easily implemented and practiced to evade and prevent secondhand smoke productions and exposures. And the rules for protection are sometimes as easy as never smoke to begin with, never smoke in the home or vehicle and expose that area to the toxins or pollutants. Don't allow anyone to smoke within your home if they do request to smoke. And if they do, designate an outdoor space at least 50 feet away from entrances and windows. Although it is still a distance away, those particulates travel a very long distance. And asking, and if an individual asks to smoke in your car and you do not wish to expose your vehicle to such as third-hand residue, do not allow them to smoke in your car. Even driving with the windows down while smoking still exposes everyone in the car to the second-hand smoke and third-hand smoke. And some other suggestions is actually to prevent temptation, such as filling the car's ashtray with spare change so that there's no temptation to fill it with ash, or leave a cell phone charger or other device plugged into the car's adapter outlet so that there's no temptation to use it as a lighter. And if one chooses to go out and they wanted to avoid all smoke emissions in general, it's always good to research hotels, public spaces that do not allow smoking. Those policies are made public. And for those that do smoke, it can be suggested to put cigarettes or other nicotine products in the trunk of the car to prevent use while driving. And why not go the extra step and put some signage up to help establish those protections? We can put signs up to show our dedication to live a smoke-free, tobacco-free lifestyle, vape-free lifestyle, and visual aids always help for those who want to understand that you're determined to remain in this lifestyle and free of tobacco and nicotine smoke emissions. And it's also important to realize that living smoke-free is the future. There are short-term and long-term health benefits after quitting, some as little as 20 minutes, and this includes after quitting, the heart rate and blood pressure levels drop within normal range. And after quitting the use of tobacco products, there is improved lung function and decreased risk of cancer, along with the risk of nicotine poisoning. Current and former cigarette smokers are at increased likelihood of severe illness, such as COVID-19. In addition to the health benefits, there are other reasons to quit commercial tobacco. Not only is a person improving their own quality of life, but also the quality of life for those around them, and this actually does include animals. But also, in addition to secondhand smoke emissions being decreased and reduced, third-hand smoke productions is also reduced. And recovering a sense of taste and smell is one of the first changes a smoker may experience after they've quit, and often within just a few days. And people who use commercial tobacco are burdened with additional recurring costs. And the number that I have for the state, an individual from the state of New Mexico who smokes a pack a day, if they chose to quit today, would save roughly around $2,400 a year. And that's a lot of money that can be put elsewhere. It can be put to bills, it can be put to vacation, it can be put to elsewhere. And it's been mentioned a few times, some quitting resources. There's always hotlines like 1-800-QUIT-NOW for those that do want to quit. There's websites and toolkits such as our Smoke-Free Signals toolkit, which is always made available in public. There's a smartphone app for everyone who does have a smartphone, like Quit Start, and text messaging programs such as Smoke-Free Text and This Is Quitting. And I know I'm on my last slide, but I want to include something here at the end, because a lot of people wonder why I got into community health and why it was important to me to speak and present while doing these presentations. And it was important to me from a very young age, even though I didn't realize it. My first tobacco intervention was actually around the age of 10. And I had just got one of the scariest presentations about don't smoke, and here's what it can do to you. If you smoke, you die. One of those very fearful presentations at a very young age. And as soon as I got home that day, I found out one of my family members smoked. And immediately seeing that and remembering what I saw earlier that day, I started crying, and I walked up to her and I told her, as soon as I can, I'm gonna get a job. And this is when nicotine patches were just about prevalent and being very, very popular as a replacement therapy. And I said, I'm gonna get a job and I'll use every cent that I have to buy you a nicotine patch, and I don't want you to die, I don't want you to get sick. And that was my first ever intervention at the age of 10. And since then, I've maintained this passion of caring for others since then. But thank you for your time.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Anthony, for sharing, just your heart and passion, because I know every single one of us has, been affected by commercial tobacco use, and really carrying that message and that love in this journey. So thank you so much for that. Our next presenter is Wendy Wrinkle, who will be talking about the Native Tobacco Project, educating in rural communities on tobacco. So please welcome Wendy.
Good afternoon. My name is Wendy Wrinkle, and I am the project supervisor for the Native Tobacco Grant through United Indian Health Services. I'm so happy to be here today and honored to be asked to present. And we're just going to get into our slides. One more. So the Native Tobacco Project is housed within the United Indian Health Services Tribal Public Health Division and has been funded by the California Tobacco Control Program for the last 32 years. This project works with Humboldt and Del Norte County American Indian and Alaskan Native community members, tribal members, and tribal councils to reduce illness and premature death related to commercial tobacco use. I'd like to start off by acknowledging our Native Tobacco team. To the left is Lydia Adams-Loya, and she is a health promotion and educational specialist. To the right is Michael Sanchez, and he is also a health promotion education specialist. And the newest member to our team is Jamie Bassez, and he is a health promotion educational technician. And I really want to let everyone know that all of their hard work to serving our Native community is through all the work that we're doing here today. Thank you. So one of our objectives within the Native Tobacco Grant is the Tobacco 21 federal law. And as we all know, this was signed into law in December of 2019, prohibiting the sales to anyone under 21 years of age, and that includes all the United States territories and all tribal lands. And so when I first started working on this objective, there was a lot of confusion. A lot of people were not aware of this law. And so through a lot of our activities within our grant, we were able to actually go out and do some educational visits with our local retailers, providing them with critical information on this law, how commercial tobacco is affecting our youth, and reminding them how important traditional tobacco is to our community. We were also able to develop brochures and educational packets on this topic. And so a lot of our packets show the importance of traditional tobacco compared to commercial tobacco. And as we all know, commercial tobacco is highly addictive, and it's really hurting all of our communities, where traditional tobacco it's like self-care for us. It's a gift. We use it in ceremony, and it's very sacred to a lot of our American Indian communities. And we're also able to offer trainings to our coalitions that we work with, to our community members, how big tobacco companies are targeting our youth, and how our population is really being affected by commercial tobacco. We're able to share with our community members, we're able to invite our community members to participate when we go to tribal council, and when we go to tribal council, and we also do educational outreach with our youth. As you can see, there's one picture here with our youth supporting our efforts to bring awareness to this new law. We also do earned media. We write letters to the editor of our local paper. We do letters to our tribal council. We also submit articles to our local tribal newsletters. And we also provide really great information and education through our social media platforms, which I'll share with you in a little bit. And here we have policy presentations. We encourage our youth and our elders to participate with those presentations, to share their knowledge, and our staff to share the information on Tobacco 21 law, to get all of our ordinances updated to the new age of 21. So also we have our primary objective, which is pregnancy and commercial tobacco. So we provide education. A lot of the same activities are under this objective, our articles, our social media, where we do trainings. And so there's just a lot of great work happening under this objective. We hosted a Great American Smokeout last November. So the Great American Smokeout happens the third Thursday in November. We offer education to our community members. We have a quick kit, and we have the resources to help them with their quitting journey. We've also developed a storytelling training. So this storytelling training is directly for our elders and our pregnant moms. And so we were able to bring in 2 local storytellers to share the importance of traditional storytelling. And then our tobacco team shared the dangers of using commercial tobacco. And so once these stories are finalized, we'll be able to share these out in our community, promoting wellness by not using commercial tobacco. We also have workshops specifically for our pregnant moms and young families on the dangers of commercial tobacco, second and third hand smoke, and those young ones who are affected. I spoke about our quit kit. So we developed a culturally appropriate quit kit, which includes beading materials, journals, pens, seeds, our brochure, because we have a healthy pregnancy, healthy baby campaign that's also going on, where we're providing these resources and ways to quit. As for our presentation on Ask Advise Refer, we're wanting to get this protocol approved by our decision makers within our clinic and through tribal council. And so we have prepared these culturally appropriate educational packets that include all of our local data, reasons why we need to support our pregnant moms, and advancing them to quit commercial tobacco if they are using. And so we also have developed culturally appropriate posters. And unfortunately, I missed the deadline to submit for this conference, but these are really powerful posters that we've created. And we utilize our community members in our community. We utilize our basket designs specific to our Northern California region. And you'll be able to see these posters in future slides coming up. But these posters have been disseminated to all of our providers serving our American Indian and Alaska Native clients. They've also been disseminated to all of our United Indian Health Services clinic sites and tribal, and also, excuse me, also they're going out at all the public health departments within both of our counties. Another activity within our project is our Tribal Coalition Strategy Plan. So we've conducted 3 of these strategic planning sessions with community partners and with our coalitions, where we identified goals, project goals, considerations for success. We've identified partners and allies, skeptics. We've also identified people who may be unsupportive of what we're doing. We also have listed out our decision makers within our community and our advisors. Our coalition also felt that it was important to list out all of our scope of work activities so that we can reach our goal by the end of June of 2025. So these charts have been created for each of our objectives. 2 other objectives we are working on is education on smokeless tobacco and defining commercial tobacco. We've also developed a youth storytelling training. And this training is open to all local tribal youth within Del Norte and Humboldt County. Our goal is to develop tobacco prevention stories using prevention-based words with words of respect for our culture and traditions regarding traditional tobacco. And of course, encouraging our youth not to use commercial tobacco. And once again, these stories will be finalized, and we'll be able to share these out on our social media platforms in the future. We also have another series of posters that we are creating. One is right on this slide. We have a local American Indian baby, one of our youngest clients, and we really want that individual to know to not use commercial tobacco. So it's so important for his parents not to use that as an example. We're working on policy development for all, so all of our objectives have policy work in them, including smokeless tobacco, not just smoking within our local ordinances. The Tobacco 21 updating that to make sure all the ordinance have the correct age, not 18, but 21. Also, being able to get our Ask Advisor for protocol finalized into our health care within our counties for our population. And one important thing about our educational packet, all of our materials have been reviewed by community members through our evaluation activities such as key informant interviews and focus groups. Our project evaluators and staff have, while we were in COVID, so we couldn't go to an event and hand out our surveys. So we kind of pivoted and pushed them out on social media. And so collecting that data and making sure we're implementing that data into our educational packet. So when we go to tribal council and give them this packet, they know what the knowledge is of our community. And so that's really important to us. And we also utilize our local community members. As you see, a lot of these pictures have our community members advocating for what we're doing and supporting our efforts. Here are the culturally appropriate posters that I mentioned earlier. As you see there, we have our basket designs specific to our area. We have local people. These are not online pictures. These are community members locally that people know. So when they see these posters, they're actually really thinking about quitting commercial tobacco and maybe protecting the future generations. Another activity that we do a lot of is our educational outreach. We have multiple activities we did, multiple events we did in our community in the last 2 years. The lady on the right, Annie, she really came out to support our efforts, holding that wonderful sign up. And then in the middle, we have 2 of our coalition members masked up within our UIHS clinic site. We support eliminating smokeless tobacco. Let's get policy in place. And so all the flyers that we are developing are of local people, encouraging our community members to come out and support us. Next, I'd like to share about some of our coalition building that has been happening for quite a while. So CORE, which stands for Communities Outreach, Resource, and Education Coalition, was established in 1992. And the mission of CORE is to create a healthy and productive American Indian community. So this grassroots volunteer community coalition works to build a healthier community by encouraging and supporting lifestyles that promote spiritual, physical, and mental well-being. To the left is our Teen Advisory Group, better known as TAG. TAG was established in 1991. A lot of our TAG members we're now working with, and their kids are in TAG, so this is really powerful work. This is a peer-to-peer education program for our young adults. And many of the topics that are covered in TAG, there are many health-related topics covered in TAG. But all of our teachings, there is an emphasis on tradition and culture. Those involved in TAG may review various educational materials, listen to presenters and elders, and learn through hands-on activities. We've also traveled with our TAG group and core group to educational conferences. TAG has actually created their own educational presentations. And so they're sharing in the community what they are learning. Unfortunately, during COVID, it has been a little hard to communicate with our youth, but we're rebuilding and we're wanting to bring awareness to commercial tobacco and to protect our youth. And so our TAG and our core coalition are written into our native tobacco project to assist with grant and evaluation activities. Here are just a few of our social media posts that have been created. Just simple, short education. River is life. Commercial tobacco isn't. Again, we're using local community members to provide this impact and share this education. So we are on Facebook at UIHS Health, and we also recently just got an Instagram page last year, which is UIHS_HPE. This is one of our paid media projects that we did. This billboard is in Crescent City, California. And so it's a local native mother proclaiming to be commercial tobacco free for her child. We also were able to push out radio ads during COVID, digital media, and just bombarding our bombarding our online platforms with all of this education. Thank you for having me. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And again, my name's Wendy Wrinkle, and I oversee the Native Tobacco Project.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Now we're going to open it up for question and answers. So we encourage the people who are here and then also in Zoom land to ask any questions of our great panelists here. Don't be shy. I know you guys are full. Oh, yes.
Has there been any kind of studies on the effects on children from breastfeeding moms that smoke?
So the question, did you hear the question?
Sorry. You know, there is this on?
Oh, you gotta.
Unfortunately, there is not a lot of data with pregnancy and using commercial tobacco, but that, like I said, it's brand new. There's not a lot of people out there working under this objective, but that's a great question.
Back there?
Good afternoon. My name is Herschel Clark. Thank you for your presentation. This is a really nice, good information that you guys shared. But I have a question for Clinton. I know I've worked with you closely in regards to the Air's Life Act, and we really appreciate you as an advocate and the work that you've done, especially with American non-smokers' rights. And I guess just to kind of share their journey in a sense, like how could other tribes who are thinking of going smoke-free for their tribal casinos, how can they collaborate with you if you give information? I know it's really from the community-based approach, and we reached out to you in regards, and A&R has been very instrumental in our efforts, but I think just maybe offering how you could collaborate and get information to work a little more closer with you, because I know there's a lot more tribes out there, we're not the only one, so it just kind of highlighting that effort for you.
Yeah, thanks, Herschel. So I always think like what's instrumental for us to be supportive to communities is to have like dedicated individuals that are on the ground, boots on the ground, working within their community, like the public, like within the health sector or within like among tribal leaders, like people like you and Dr. Henderson. So I mean, it's easy for me to like approach a tribe and say, hey, do you guys want to be smoke free, or are you guys interested in being 100% smoke free? And the person that I'm talking to could be like, yeah, I'm really interested in doing that. But I think it's key to like really like just building a relationship with individuals that have strong connections with the community and that can help kind of relay different messages and help make things happen, right? Like Dr. Henderson was instrumental in communicating to a lot of the tribal leaders and even like translating a lot of the stuff to us of what was going on behind the scenes. And so I think, if there are communities that are interested, I think my approach would be to, work with like coalitions and community members that are, I don't like the word champions because it like puts a lot of pressure on people and like you have to do everything. And I know like we put a lot of effort into policy champions, and it's just, I feel like, coalitions are where it's at, and like building coalitions and working with communities so that the coalitions could communicate with their leaders and other people like that. So key would be coalitions. Like if you guys are interested, anybody's interested in working on, making your casino smoke free, or a comprehensive policy like Navajo Nation did, if you don't already have a coalition, let's build a coalition together, and we could do whatever it takes to support that happening within your community. But again, coalition.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all so much. If we could give our panel a nice round of applause again.
Sorry,
Oh,
we
wait, just
have
kidding, just kidding. We
Yep.
have another question.
some virtual questions just came in, so we can ask those. Can you expand on the contents of the quit bags that you created?
Can you expand on the quit bags that you created?
Sure. So we focus group tested our quit kits, and clients really wanted something to keep their hands busy. And so we figured, beading materials. So we purchased beading materials. We have different resources like our project brochure. Our Kick It CA is the local California resource. And we also have journals and pens, seeds, again, something to keep your hands busy. And then just to reach out to our program if they had any further needs, or, really wanted to discuss how they could start their quitting journey.
That's great.
And then we have another question, and this one's for Anthony. When educating about third-hand smoke exposure, do you have any difficulties with community buy-in? If so, how do you navigate those situations?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
When educating about third-hand smoke exposure, do you have any difficulties with community buy-in? If so, how do you navigate those situations?
When I talk about third-hand smoke, actually, the presentations that I've done, I've actually had visuals that I have accompany with that when I want to stress the importance of third-hand smoke presence and residue. And it's always shocking to share that because I'll share a photo of what looks like a plain wall just with some random squares in it, and people wonder, why is this photo here? Why is it depicting third-hand smoke? And it's shocking to find out the square is the clean space in the wall. And not many people realize that a space, no matter if it's been smoked in once or for many years, it is accumulated third-hand residue.
Thank you.
And we have another one if no one in person has any questions. Okay. And then this one can be open, but what is your recommendation for getting support from smokers who are also key stakeholders? So you have council members, tobacco shop owners, etc.
What are recommendations for getting key stakeholders who are smokers?
Support from, smokers who are key stakeholders.
Getting support from smokers who are key stakeholders.
Well, so I think I didn't have a lot of time to go over a lot of the things that I specifically do with the approaches in my presentation, but something that I was trying to relay is that my goal in how I talk to tribal leaders and to tribal communities is not to have people quit smoking cigarettes. It's to restore traditional tobacco to our communities. And so, like I said, I don't like going into council meetings and, telling tribal leaders who've been successfully operating casinos for 30 plus years, telling them what they're doing is wrong. I don't want to do that. So I changed my approach to it being about protecting our traditional tobacco and bringing back our traditional tobacco into our families and our communities. And that approach it seems it's a lot more receptive. People are a lot more receptive to that because it's more, holistic, and it's something that I think people can easily see that it's possible, like just using traditional tobacco more. And a part of that is eliminating secondhand smoke from different environments, right? And so I bring that into the conversation too, that it's important that when our kids see us, that we're not smoking in front of them, or when they're going into the health clinics, that we're not smoking in front of the doors. So in order for us to restore our traditional tobacco, we have to teach our kids what tobacco is the correct tobacco to use in our communities. And if they see us not using commercial tobacco, that's going to help with that. That's going to help with the restoration of our tobacco. And so that's why, smoke-free policies are so important in tribal communities. And it's a really difficult conversation to have, especially within tribal casinos. But like any other political leader, tribal leaders, they want what's best for their constituents, and they want what's best for their communities, and they're going to do what's best for their communities. So just changing the approach to something that is easier to grasp, right? And to me, that's always bringing in the possibility of restoring our traditional tobacco.
Are there any other virtual questions? No? Any other in-person questions?
I just want to say it's extremely nerve-wracking being up here compared to anywhere else I've presented. Being up here on this stage, isn't it? This is a future to everybody that's going to be presenting up here next. It's really, really nerve-wracking, so beware.
No, I can confirm this. It's very nerve-wracking just to be here, but I am proud for this opportunity.
No pressure, but they did amazing. Can we give them another round of applause? For real. All right, well, thank you all so much for joining this session. We're going to take a brief break right now, and we're going to allow everybody to join us back in this room. There are some snacks available. I think they're still getting put out right now, so just a few seconds. And then we'll begin our third session, Culture for Prevention and Cessation, at 2:15 back in this room. So I encourage you all to go get some sunshine, come and meet these great panelists, and we'll see you again shortly.